What's up, y'all? Welcome back to part 2 of every Warhammer Fantasy Faction Explained. Yes, we are jumping right into elves. But before we do that, this is the Ash Vibe Show. For those of you who don't know, you should know because you should have watched part 1. My name is Malik Harris, which you should also know that.
My name is Pt2.
Tuna?
Tuna salad? No, my name is Pt2, and you should all know that. I don't, but you should.
Motherfucking Derek Moore.
And this is the Ash Vibe Show where you come to
Live with the tribe.
As you can see, we have a lot more energy. This is why we like to break it up into 2 parts so we can just keep our flow through the whole thing. I didn't really have too much to say. The first part of it was dope. I think we left off on some... Yeah.
Left on Italy, Spain.
Yeah, I'm sitting
neutral
here
land.
Italy was super small.
Arabic.
The fucking
Yeah.
the United States of America.
Aladdin.
Yeah, right. And I remember all the shit like it was...
Jafar.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's just jump into this episode and then, as you guys know, we'll take notes and all that good jazz.
Bumping all the elves together, because their backstories are all very interconnected. Don't worry, they'll each get their own time to shine. Once upon a time, there were just elves. The first species created by the old ones to fight chaos, they were made to be elves. Arrogant, long-lived, and short of the Slann, they're the best wizards around.
Really?
Then chaos descended, the old ones pissed off, and the elves had no idea what the hell to do. Eventually, a cool elf named Kalidor made a magical vortex. The chief cool elf, Anarion, grabbed a cursed sword that killed a whole lot of demons, and then everything cooled down a bit. Anarion disappeared, but they elected a new king, so all was okay. His children with his first wife even showed back up to be a bloodline of legendary heroes, though they're also cursed because of that sword. Then Anarion's second wife told their son Malekith that he should be king, convinced him with her boobs because family trees can be shaped like Christmas wreaths if you don't mind being a freak, and a civil war broke out. Malekith walked into a sacred fire to prove his worth, whereupon their chief god lit him on fire. Him and his mother kept trying to take over the home continent of Ulthuan. They nearly unmade it when they realized they couldn't, and then the newly formed Dark Elves were forced off of it to go live in Canada. The High Elves, those who stayed behind, once again got to rebuild the shattered remnants of their home. At least they still had their firm friendship with the Dwarfs, that's a good thing. Oh, wait, that got ruined too. But don't feel too bad, the High Elf King ruined that one for them himself by being the worst. That one wasn't an unfortunate tragedy, it was a self-imposed unfortunate tragedy. The Dwarfs and the High Elves fought Fantasy World War I, and it was pretty miserable for everyone involved. Picking a victor is sort of meaningless because both groups were pretty thoroughly wrecked by the event, and the High Elves had to return home when the Dark Elves began the first of many invasion attempts to retake Ulthuan. Some High Elves didn't go home and sheltered in a magical forest called Athel Loren instead. Now we have our third group of elves, the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves are the easiest of the subgroups to explain. They sit in their magical forest and are insane. Sometimes people walk into the magical forest. It's safe to assume that unless stated otherwise, they do not come back out of the magical forest. Sometimes even if you come out of the magical forest, you find that 1,000 years have passed since you entered, and every single one of those years catches up with you as you age to dust within minutes. Aside from that though, your first instinct might be that these are stupid, uninspired, lame D&D Wood Elves who love nature and harmony and trees. In fairness, they do love all those things. It's just that these trees are 50 feet tall, mobile, have a craving for the suffering of mankind, and the Wood Elves will invite peasants to feasts to fatten them up for the forest spirits. They don't give a rat's ass about the outside world aside from how it might affect their perfect little lives inside the forest. There are a few scattered enclaves of them across the world that are a bit friendlier, but the general motivation of the Wood Elves is getting other people to get the hell off of their lawn. And when the lawn can come to life and devour you alive, it's a pretty easy task to do that. They also gaslight the Bretonnians into thinking their goddess isn't an elf one, although as it turns out later on, the extent of the elven gaslighting goes even further beyond their understanding. They're led by the avatars of 2 of the elf gods, naturally the ones that are focused on nature, because Wood Elf. The king likes to rampage across Bretonnia every now and again for funsies, and the queen sometimes says don't do that, sometimes doesn't care, and sometimes encourages it when she's in a feisty mood. They're not my thing, truth be told, but I can respect the idea of wanting to be left alone for all eternity. So if you too cringe inside a little bit whenever you get a text message or a Discord DM, those might be for you. The High Elves are the ones that stayed on Ulthuan and remained much the same throughout. And like I said, the old ones sure as hell made them to be elves. Long-lived, magical, arrogant, and because they live for thousands of years, they're real good at what they do. Some of their swordsmen have been practicing for so long that they take into account the weight of their eyelashes when they swing. You're not beating that. And sure enough, the history of the High Elves is the history of them sailing out from their homeland to go stop most of the problems the world faces. They taught humanity how to use magic properly, they keep excess magic from saturating the world, and they have a habit of showing up just as they're needed to stop things from getting completely out of hand. There's a high elf who destroyed orc warbands that have been rampaging since the dawn of time, and was so good at it that he gave the entire elven race a reputation amongst the greenskins for being good fighters. All of this because a fat goblin burned down his house. And of course, Teclis my beloved. Is there a 10,000 strong army of orcs, dark elves, or worse bearing down on you? Well, with a wave of his staff and a flick of his wrist, there is now a new crater. He's a real cool guy like that, and he's not even that arrogant. The flip side to balance this glazing session I've just done is that they do actually have weaknesses to go along with all that. They reproduce slowly, and in a wargame setting, that's the mark of death. Every death in battle is a hindrance, although at least compared to 40k, they aren't outright dying. They're on the watch list for being endangered rather than being endangered outright. And magic being so innate to them means that when something with it goes wrong, they feel it and are affected by it more acutely than most. Like when their magical queen is sad. Their entire homeland's climate is tied to her emotions, and like any living being that isn't a psychopath, she is sad when a great amount of her people die. So when Malekith decides today is as good a day as any to get 1 million people killed trying to retake his homeland again, it really sucks to live in the same country as her. They're also physically frail, which isn't the biggest weakness in the world, but you'll definitely notice it when an orc is bearing down on them. They've also got a bit of a species-wide depression thing going on too.
Did you guys catch her name?
No, he just said the queen.
Just the queen.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't like the part that they get to feel her pain too.
That sucks.
That the region has to feel. That's the note I was just taking. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, they said at least she's not like insane and.
Yeah, but like think about like going in a battle and like the person that you're going in a battle with is like hella sad, and because their emotions like sad, it kind of affects the way you would probably fight. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like if she's sad that people died, like you're gonna be thinking about all the people that died. It might make you fight better. I don't know. But
yeah, it doesn't affect their emotions. It affects the region and stuff, right?
Yeah, but not. Oh,
I think so.
Yeah, it's just the queen has the effect on all the people. Not everybody has the same.
but that
connection.
No, the people or the region.
the
Which one is
region.
it?
Right.
If it's the region, it's like everybody, right?
I was thinking of like the environment and stuff when they were saying region. You guys think it's like people?
But it's like a frequency though. Like, wouldn't it be? Like, it's just like the region. So if it's like the whole environment, like, you know,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a.
know.
I'm gonna rewind it back a little bit because that's actually a good question. Yeah, because that makes a big difference actually. I don't know.
Cause that would affect. Like, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm hella depressed and like y'all energy is the.
No, I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Any living being that isn't a
tap.
psychopath, she is sad when a great amount of her people died since the dawn of time, and was so good at it that he gave the entire elven race a reputation amongst the greenskins for being good fighters. All of this because a fat goblin burned down his house. And of course, Teclis my beloved. Is there a 10,000 strong army
Pinocchio.
of orcs, dark elves, or worse bearing down
I
on
didn't
you?
even notice his
Well, with a
nose.
wave of his staff
First
and a
time I
flick
saw
of
it.
his wrist, there is now a new crater. He's a real cool guy like that, and he's not even that arrogant. The flip side to balance this glazing session I've just done is that they do actually have weaknesses to go along with all that. They reproduce slowly, and in a wargame setting, that's the mark of death.
reproduce.
Every death in
I see.
battle is a hindrance, although at least compared to 40k, they aren't outright dying. They're on the watch list for being endangered rather than being endangered
I like that
outright.
also.
And magic being so
Strategic
innate to
breeding.
them means that when something with
Right.
it goes wrong, they feel it and are affected by it more acutely than most. Like when their magical queen is sad. Their entire homeland's climate is tied to her emotions.
climate,
And like any
yeah.
living being that
It's like
isn't a
weather.
psychopath, she is sad when a great amount of her people die. So when Malekith
that
decides
means
today is
storm
as
and
good a
rain.
day as any to get 1 million people killed trying to retake his homeland again, it really sucks to live in the same country as her. They're also physically frail, which isn't the biggest weakness in the world, but you'll definitely notice it when an orc is bearing down on them. They've also got a bit of a species.
Okay, yeah, low key, that's fucked up because if they're like dying and they're losing, she's gonna start crying. She's gonna make it even harder.
Probably start
It's gonna
raining
be-
hella
yeah,
hard, or
now you gotta fight in the
wind
mud.
hella far. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Tornado.
if they could control those, like if she wasn't on the battlefield and she was back and they're like send her signals like, yo, we need sun. You know, if they could like monitor and control that, that'd be cool. And they said she wasn't crazy, so like hopefully she's.
I don't even think. I think.
We're thinking
When-
hella deep.
Nah, it's like it's good though. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fantasy fiction part of
Right.
it, so it's just like a different spin. If I was to think about it, like if the weather start changing, I'm thinking more so me. Let me not do that, but
Yeah.
I think if I'm in a battle and the sun's shining, I might be a little bit more on the happier side while I'm whooping ass. Versus when the sun is down and it's raining and it's thunderstorming.
I think if I'm going to war
I don't think-
and I'm fighting for my life,
You want the battle to be right?
it's like
No.
I don't
matter
know.
what-
I'm not happy, sad. Like I'm chaos. I'm
Yeah.
adrenaline and a bunch of other shit.
I just see two of my friends to the left die. I just saw a guy take an arrow to the head right next to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that you're a traitor, though.
What are you talking about?
This man talking about chaos and shit. He taking on chaos.
Well, he's in the midst of chaos.
No, I'm
That's
saying
what
if I'm in the middle of chaos, like
I have
I'm
to double
like
check.
you.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever been in a fight, I wasn't thinking like, "Damn, I'm glad it's sunny today." Like, I'm not like, I'm like, "Fuck, I love the
Damn,
sunshine."
I'm about to beat the shit out of his ass.
It's a good day to whoop some ass. Like, it's just the
About to
fight's
get a
happening.
tan today. About to tan your ass.
Man, his armor's getting hot. The sun's up there too hot.
This is some good weather.
Yeah,
That's
I get
crazy.
you. I get
Okay,
you.
let's jump back.
Wide depression thing going on too. When you live functionally forever, you get a long time to get a real feel for what the world is like. And as it turns out, this world kinda sucks. They just don't have time to recuperate from any of
They
their
be crying
constant
and
losses. The world is in danger, the high elves sail out to fix the issue, and then the world is immediately in danger again. Add on to that some more standard elven weaknesses, like their old age, meaning they don't always adapt to new things well, and you've got a race that has a bit of a deadline attached to it. Mankind is inventing guns, tanks, and more, and the elves think the bow and arrow remains the height of warfare. To their credit, though, they're damn good with that bow and arrow, especially when it's a magical lightsaber bow and arrow.
That's a nice bow and
and
arrow.
dragons. The high elves are best friends of almost every dragon that isn't from Cathay.
Damn.
Dragons are scary in a fight, and let's be honest with ourselves. If a dragon declared your hometown to be the best thing ever and made sure to always visit and help out when it was in trouble, you'd have an ego the size of Mount Everest too. Overall, if you like elves, you'll like these guys. Even if you don't like elves or only associate Warhammer's elves with the Eldar, the High Elves' ability to actually put their money where their mouth is might win you over. And if nothing else, there's an elf character named Aletha Nar who skins Dark Elves alive because he just hates them that much, and is overall
Whoa.
Michael Myers if he had pointy ears and Special Forces training.
Damn.
Hard to get more unelven than that guy. Speaking of ego, though, take the stereotypical elven arrogance, or if you're not a big fan of the race, elven racism. Now jack it up to the logical extreme endpoint of the concept so that they don't only think they're the best, they think of all other races as vermin that should either serve them as slaves, be hunted for sport, or outright eradicated. Welcome to Naggaroth, friends. It only goes downhill from there. Warhammer North America sucks. It's home to the Dark Elves after they got kicked out of their old home, and the entire thing is either a frozen
I see
hellhole,
Virginia
a
from
desert
right here.
hellhole, or a frozen hellhole bordering actual hell. There's something called the Altar of Ultimate Darkness inside of this place. Do you think anyone that lives here is gonna be nice? Sure enough, the Dark Elves aren't nice. There used to be some human tribes that lived in Naggaroth, and then the Dark Elves killed or enslaved them all. They have cities built into mountains they use as ships to raid and enslave others, they kidnapped High Elf children to raise as Dark Elves, and the entire society looks like what would happen if every single Decepticon was Starscream. Murder and treachery are only illegal if you get caught,
Hey,
and
that's
if
a
you're
good
powerful enough, not
representation
even
right
there.
there.
They're led by Malekith and his mother Marathi, the same two elves who formed the Dark Elves 10,000 years prior. Marathi's kind of just always awful, but sometimes if you squint real hard, Malekith can almost sort of a little bit resemble a noble elf hero he once was. Then he does things like instituting the elven god of murder as the head of the Dark Elf pantheon, uses demons as auxiliaries when he invades Ulthuan, and starts the Warhammer Fantasy Triangle slave trade. In spite of failing to retake Ulthuan every time he tries, he's a damn powerful wizard and warrior both. He's
Oh,
just
that's
Darth
crazy.
Vader, actually. He's even got the suit of armor that helps keep him alive because he was severely
shit.
burned. And who can forget his mommy issues? Although I don't think Anakin ever piped his mother, so a little bit different there. There is no height of cruelty that Dark Elves don't aspire to.
nuts.
Acting nice gets you killed because it clearly means you're weak. Admitting you're a bit tired or injured gets you
Man, you
killed
look like
because if you were
Thor's brother
strong,
right
you
now.
wouldn't be injured. So clearly you're weak and someone else more fitting should take your spot. They don't have as many dragon allies, and the ones they do are corrupted by
Yeah.
dark magic, so they just grab whatever
motherfucker
monstrosity
look
they can
pregnant.
find in the Midwest and put it in chains until it's time for battle. Much like their cousins in space, if you find you're about to be captured by them, it's probably best
Rob
to just
better
off
have a
yourself.
T-Rex on
They
my
may not have
side.
quite as exotic measures of torturing you, but they make up for it with a real go-getter attitude in the field of human rights violations. There's a holiday called Blood Night. The cult of the god of murder goes around and kidnaps people to murder. They steal elven girls to be trained as witch elves like them, and they throw elven boys in a cauldron of
Human
boiling blood.
trafficking.
If they survive, they get trained as an assassin. I don't think a concrete statistic has ever been given, but you can assume that not many people survive this. If you like being edgy, either
Right.
ironically or because you think suffering is inherently deep, you'll like the Druki. I can already feel the viewer
The
retention
Druki.
going down, though, from how long I've been talking about elves. So how about we move to their polar opposites?
Dwarfs.
Elves are posh, regal, and always at least a little bit uptight. Dwarfs are brash, to the point, and consider sobriety a sin. While the elves of Warhammer have a few things that make them stand out a bit from the standard elf template, the Dwarfs of
Like
Warhammer
Warren
could fit
little
in just
brother
about
or
any
something
setting
right
with
there.
minimal issue. They like drinking, they like mining, they hate orcs, and getting them to compliment non-dwarf
Everybody,
craftsmen
hey,
is like pulling
pause
teeth.
it, bro. I'm sorry. Pause it real quick.
Yeah, like the orc.
What the fuck y'all got against orcs, bruh? Talk to me now. Cause what the fuck? I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop.
I feel it.
They're not finna keep disrespecting the homies like that. Like,
For why?
orc beat your ass. Like, the fuck?
I wonder why they hate orcs.
I seem like everybody in the fantasy world is against orcs. Like,
I feel like orcs just be minding their own business, you know,
just whooping ass.
just destroying shit. You know, they're just using their imagination, being free. I don't know.
Dwarfs. The short fucks hate orcs. All right, bet. Hate
But drinking,
orcs.
they like mining.
Sobriety is a sin. That's the main thing I put. That's important.
Sobriety is a sin.
Mm-hmm. It's an opening statement. Yeah. Real shit. I've never seen a dwarf not drinking a beer.
True.
Like in any iteration of
Dwarves.
ever, I don't think. Yeah.
Fucking drunk.
Hate magic both because it's weird elf nonsense and because when the old ones made the dwarves, they made them so
Weird
opposed to
elf
magic
nonsense.
their mere presence makes it not work properly. They love mining in mountains because that's just what dwarfs love. They do have three things that make them stand out, though. First is that it's pronounced dwarfs, not dwarves. Second is that these dwarfs are industrious little fellas. They've discovered oil and how to use it, and with it make helicopters, trains, and more. While humanity has galleons with cannons and the elves have either magical dragon ships or city-sized slave ships, the dwarfs have ironclads, submarines, and aircraft carriers. They hate using them because no proper dwarf would ever be happy with anything but solid earth under their feet, but they have them. They're slow to change to the point that anything less than 500 years old gets you complained at if you suggest using it, but at least some of them understand that the 20-barreled artillery piece is nice to have even if their ancestors might not approve. The second is that these dwarfs are the embodiment of the word spite. They're bitter that the other races won't just conform to proper dwarf ways. They hate orcs and goblins for ruining their once great cities. They hate the elves for that war they got into thousands of years ago. A war that ultimately started, mind you, because the dwarf diplomat forcibly had his beard shaved. There were some other factors leading up to it, but that was the final straw. The average dwarf doesn't know about the lizardmen much, but they'd certainly hate them too if they knew the Slann were involved in shifting some mountain ranges around that destroyed a whole lot of dwarf holds. Have you ever wronged a dwarf? Into the book you go. The Great Book of Grudges, that is. Every single thing that has in some way wronged the dwarf race gets put down in there. Most dwarf holds have their own personal ones for slight against them in particular. Some dwarfs have their own personal book. Even if they don't, they have photographic memory. If you've wronged them, they'll remember. It doesn't even need to be on purpose. A human...
Why does it remind me of Dave Chappelle, like the haters ball? Like C would be the biggest hater. That's great. Actually, I like dwarves. So wait. Oh, side note. ADD brain. The reason I paused it is we haven't really got into this in 40K, but I know they were talking about space elves or space dwarves. I thought that was in 40. You guys can let us know if that's something. Like we didn't see it in like the original factions video.
I thought they were around, but then they went extinct.
Oh, extinct.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop playing around. I'm always goofy. I'm sorry, y'all. I was gonna
Say something crazy.
say some midget space marines.
Just smaller space. No, there's a
I'm
whole.
sure be
there's a
funny.
whole- yeah, I had to think about it. I was like, everything is space marines, but no, I thought there was space dwarves, and I think that maybe we haven't done it. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in 40K, because now I'm sitting here thinking about, I'm like, how have we not ran across space dwarves yet?
I don't think I ever heard like Doris. I think it's more so like we were stuck on like the Eldar and the elves and shit.
Yeah.
That's the closest we got to anything like kind of like dwarfs and shit, you know.
Other than the goblins. And
Oh
orcs.
yeah. I don't know. I be feeling like orcs are like mutated fucking goblins. If we gonna be.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are technically.
Orc.
Orc fight. Orc bleed. Orc kill.
Hey, bro.
Cut off
It's
sign.
either an orc, an ultramarine, or a gray knight. Nigga,
Yeah.
holla at me.
Oh, that's what the Voton are. Yeah, we haven't got to Voton. We have that in a playlist.
Oh, y'all did?
Okay,
Mention
yeah.
certain shit.
I was gonna say the Discord usually has us all of our Discord members usually have us on game when it comes to all these different factions. That makes sense. Where everybody was telling them, "Damn, that's crazy. We got."
Oh yeah, they're called something else. Okay.
Yeah, we got to put that to the front of the line. Okay, back in the video.
The town once shorted the Dwarfs 2 coins by accident in exchange for some construction work. The Dwarfs sent an army and killed everyone in it. If this happens to you and you try to seek some sort of retribution for this insane idea of compensation they seem to have, you're going back in the book for any harm you might cause doing it. They will spend centuries and entire military campaigns fighting wars to right grudges, and naturally anything that happens to them during these campaigns leads to more grudges, which leads to them trying to right those grudges, which causes more grudges. You know that saying about digging 2 holes when you set out for revenge? 2 holes is not nearly enough for the Dowie. And who could forget the Slayers? Let's say you're a dwarf, and you committed some seriously dishonorable action. Maybe your negligence led to other dwarfs getting killed. Maybe you fled at the height of a battle. Or maybe you just lost a bit too much money on a bet, or had your beard shaved against your will. In any of those cases, there's only one option available to you. Kill yourself. Take the Slayer oath and die in battle. There's no redeeming yourself in any way but death. There's funerals held for those who take the Slayer oath before they even leave to find something to kill them, because for all intents and purposes, they've died and the message just hasn't gone through to them yet. If you want some great books that explore Slayers, Dwarfs, and the Warhammer world, read Godric and Felix. Read Godric and Felix anyway. Do it.
Paralyzing the legs.
While the Dwarfs certainly have their work cut out for them, they've got some good stuff that makes them cool regardless. They can't use magic like wizards, so instead they grab it by the balls and hit it with a hammer until it works perfectly how they want it to with their runes. The longer their beards are, the more respected they are, and there's even a military unit called Longbeards. If their beard can touch the floor, they get equipped with some of the best armor dwarf money can buy. They've got the finest weapons in the setting, the finest armor in the setting, and while they may be slow as all hell, if they catch you, it's game over. If you like facial chair, hate change, and despise other people for being different, take a look at the dwarves. Imagine dwarves without that silly grudge ideology. You've committed a wrong and have to make up for it, but you can right it without causing your own death. And what's more, you can properly use magic. Fireball and lightning and all those other lovely spells you can think of. Without the shackles of tradition or even their own biology holding them back, they can produce wonders of both magic and industry. Unfortunately, they replace stupid grudges with one of the most horrific slaver cultures around, and they forego tradition to worship actual demons and dark gods. And being able to use magic isn't necessarily a good thing, because it eventually turns them into stone statues. These are the Chaos Dwarfs, and they're horrifying in a way the more human followers of Chaos can only dream of being. Saying they take the best of the dwarfs is sort of overstating it, because the best of the dwarfs is their willingness to stand by both the letter and spirit of their word. They'll have your back no matter what. Plus, while their incredible stubbornness does hold them back from a lot of progress they can make and gets them into some stupid conflicts, it also means they're not only going to accomplish whatever they set out to do, but always stand by your side. If the dwarfs say they're going to help you, they're going to help you. And if a human, dwarf, and elf are all fighting together, the dwarf is going to be the last one to break. The Chaos Dwarves take these traits and have molded them in a way that is best suited to being an evil bastard. The craftsmanship of the dwarves makes weapons, yes, but also architectural wonders and genuine pieces of art so good it can make a man weep. The Chaos Dwarfs make hell factories that are 2,000% efficient and make the most brutal weapons Chaos has to offer. They take the runic magic of the dwarfs and use it to bind demons into their weapons and armor. The demons aren't happy with this, but the Chaos Dwarfs are still dwarfs. They're so good at what they do that more often than not, the demons are powerless once the dwarfs get their hands on them. They aren't numerous, and they aren't even terribly expansionist, but when the Chaos Dwarfs do go to war, there's nothing that can truly equal it. The finest weapons and armor just like the dwarfs, only now bolstered with the power of Hellspawn. They even have the closest thing to a nice chaos god to worship, which gives them all sorts of benefits. Shoot. Sure, he's called the Father of Darkness and is the god of tyranny and is overall exactly as evil as you'd expect from that, but he doesn't screw the dwarfs over. They want power, he likes it when tyrants are in power, so in exchange for them using their dwarf talents to enslave others, he gives them power. The most commonly seen use of Chaos Dwarfs is as artillery crewmen for the Hell Cannon unit, as well as frequently selling Chaos Lord's weapons and armor. This is because of both their isolationist nature and because they don't really have an army. They do have legacy rules for the old world, and they have had an army, unlike Cathay, but their status as properly playable is a bit all over the place. Still though...
Bro. Whoa. It looked like they had a fat-ass blunt lit up. My bad.
A blunt?
That cannon looked like a blunt to me, bro. I'm sorry.
Did you, inside that, the cannon, it almost like there was like souls in there. It's almost like faces.
Yeah, those are souls, alright.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, I guess it's all made by demon weapons.
I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro.
Okay.
What does it look like?
Nothing. Nothing.
They don't really have an army. They do have legacy rules for the old world, and they have had an army, unlike Cathay, but their status as properly playable is a bit all over the place. Still though, if you don't mind legacy rules and finding either old minis or third-party ones to use, you can field a Chaos Dwarf army. So if you like the Dwarfs but wish they were horrendous in every way possible, check out the Chaos Dwarfs. Just get used to people calling them Chorfs. Not the most dignified nickname, that one.
Chorfs is crazy.
The Ogres were the last race the old ones made before pissing off.
The
They're resistant to
non-real
chaos, tough unlike the elves, capable of changing things up quickly unlike the dwarfs, and are as ambitious and fluid as mankind. Unfortunately, the older ones couldn't quite get them to stop eating everything in sight, and never properly finished them before they left, or their homelands for that matter. When chaos invaded, the Ogres were left unfinished in this state, and many became nomadic after they ate everything and whatever their...
What in the actual fuck is going on here, bro?
Bro, they act
They're
like
having a supper.
Look
They
at
act
this
like
man's-
Tyrannus, bro.
I was gonna say they remind me like orcs.
He's
but,
got a
like,
blade for a hand. I just noticed
That's
that.
what I was saying. That's all I was like, what the fuck is this?
Both
down
his
here?
hands.
Yeah.
What do you
And then,
say
like,
that's like?
Tyrannus,
Them
like,
Mom's just saying like Tyrannus because they eating everything. They
Oh,
couldn't. The
I see,
old
I
ones
see.
couldn't get them to stop eating everything. So if like you motherfucker like Tyrannus or like the World Eaters, the motherfuckers just eating everything.
do world eaters actually eat shit? Okay. I was like, is that a thing?
But I just went with the name. real
Okay,
quick.
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, is that real?
I mean, why they call them World Eaters? But I don't know.
I imagine because
I
they're
still-
destroying worlds.
Yeah,
Hopefully, metaphorically.
metaphorically.
Oh, look, they even got goblins. Huh.
Probably catch him. As
He
a
better
slave.
not be that big though.
The ogre?
No, the goblin.
That's small, I think.
I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird picture, probably.
Yeah.
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 Bro, these are hella, like, even their weapons. The guy had, like, the mechanical jaw. I literally have that on one of the miniatures for the orcs. The guy in the previous thing. This guy's jaw, whatever this thing is right here, is fucked
So
up.
we gonna keep acting like Santa Claus ain't popping up.
I
in
did
the
see that
scene?
too, bro. That was part of the reason I stopped
That's
it.
not
You know what I'm
Santa
saying?
Claus.
Bro,
Look at that. Look at this.
Santa
He's
Claus.
got a king's. He's got a
Bruh.
king's.
Look at
hat,
this.
and
You
then-
can see the cloak right here.
Right, but that doesn't mean it's Santa
Red,
Claus.
white fur, Santa Claus. White beard, bro. What else do you need?
Bro, he even got the
Fat ass
jewels,
king.
bro.
That's who it is.
He is fat.
Nah, bro. And he got the damn beard for the shit too.
Yeah, alright. Let's give it.
If he had
They
the
also
stocking
eat
hat,
ancestors
then
with-
I could say that.
That is the stocking hat.
That's a king's
That's
crown
medieval.
hat.
It's medieval stocking hat,
This,
Mac.
this medieval.
Bro, he got
Oh
the
my God,
green
come
wrapped
on,
around
man.
his cat. His
Use
cat
your
right
imagination, bro.
Nah,
Jeez.
I'm not using it.
Bro, he's
Modern day
hating, bro.
giants, who were a whole lot smarter, wiser, and powerful than the inbred alcoholic morons that giants are in Warhammer today. Things were made worse for them when they decided to migrate into Cathay, because the Dragon Emperor dropped a meteor on their homeland and blew it up. Now they had nowhere to return to, were still really hungry, and that meteor made a big hole called the Great Maw. It's a big hole in the ground with teeth, and the ogres throw food and people into it to get magical powers. They also worship a volcano and drink its lava to get fire magic. Neither of the past two sentences were made up by me.
What
Well,
the
upsetting.
fuck?
They're vaguely based on Mongolia, but I don't think Genghis Khan ever ate an entire city's population. Killed everyone
take
in
a
it,
shot at
sure,
this
but I
lava
don't
real
think there
quick.
was mass cannibalism. The ogres, though, do exactly that. Everything about them revolves around food. Their social hierarchy is in large part determined by how fat you are. They have a race of goblinoid slaves called Noblars they employ as equal parts pack mule, assistant chefs, and snacks. They go to war to eat other races' food and or the other races. One of the most common ways you'll see ogres around is as mercenaries, because while they are stupid, they're smart enough to realize being a mercenary means you can travel the world sampling all the food you can find, and you'll even get paid for the trouble. The gut is a sacred part of an ogre's body, to the point that oftentimes it's the only part of an ogre they keep protected with armor. That might sound stupid, but consider they're twice as tall, 4 times as wide, and 8 times as heavy as a normal person, and can reliably defeat demon invasions. The closest thing to an ogre's central government is Greece's Goldtooth tribe that sets up toll booths on the trading routes
their
to
ass dead
Cathay
in
in the
their
old
stomach,
world.
bro.
Aside from that, though, they can be literally anywhere. Sometimes they even embrace the cultures of the places they go willingly. An ogre isn't exactly going to fit in an imperial noble's party, but are you going to tell the 9-foot-tall slab of muscle with a racial reputation for eating people that he's being a bit of a slob? No, you aren't. And if someone
if I got a
does,
gun to his
everyone at your
stomach, I'll
fancy
blow
dinner
his
party
shit
now
back.
has some rather gruesome entertainment, while your ogre guest has dessert. The Chaos Demons are pretty similar between
Chaos Demons. I've been waiting for this.
That nigga
The fact that you actually can, like, use this race, you know what I mean? Like, in Warhammer, actually, I think, tabletop, 40k, can you? Yeah, you can use just straight chaos. demons, right? I didn't see any at like the store or anything, right?
Probably.
There
I
were
think
like
you had-
chaos groups.
Yeah,
Like different
there's
chaos groups and
Yeah,
shit.
so like the Chaos
Like
Space
Khorne
Marines, yeah,
and
those
Leech.
guys that
Oh, okay.
were correct by those gods.
Oh, like
They
the
can
Chaos
use those-
Space Marines.
Yeah,
like
like
that.
they can
Okay.
use those demons within their army.
Oh, within the army.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and you guys let us know if like there's certain like other, just straight demon factions or something like that we don't know.
Just
'Cause-
that. Oh, my bad. Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say even in again going through the factions and stuff like that, I don't remember them talking specifically about demons as a faction. You know what I'm saying? So, what were you gonna say?
Nah, I just noticed like how they broke it up in like the stores, like multiple packs. Like if it came in a group, like they had a name for that group, like the specific group or some shit. So like when I see like chaos, like this one Pacific 10 or 5 was like chaos or some shit. It was cool to look at, but
Yeah, they just had whatever chaos demon was maybe like the leader within that group or something like that.
it is like surrounding 5 or 4 or some
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
And like I'm not trying to go too into it because I might be halfway wrong, but I know I'm speaking some type of truth.
I wonder if there's like let's say fucking Khorne, god of death or war and death. I wonder if he's in multiple packs or if he's just in one specific space legion. You know what I mean? Like he chose this legion. Like this is the most, I don't know, lunar wolves or whatever the fuck, and then just chose them. And then it's interesting.
Because you remember when we got our orcs and it said like something boys on the front of it? It said something boys, and that was just a pack.
Yeah.
Like,
I see.
yeah,
I see what you're saying. That.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I get what you're saying.
They're all servants/bits of a greater god. Sufficient concentrations of magic can allow them to show up, and when a wizard messes up their spell, they can manifest that way too. They want to tear down the mortal world and bring ruin to the realms of man, elf, and dwarf, all that good stuff you can expect of demons. The only real difference is how they came about. In 40k, all the chaos gods have birthdays. Slaanesh has the most concrete one, but the other ones at one point...
Scorpio gang.
Oh, wait.
Right there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Mike.
He looked straight like disease. He looks straight like disease.
I mean, he
He
is
is
the
disease.
god of
Herpes.
pretty much came into existence.
Right, yeah.
Warp timey-wimey cop-out garbage means they've also always existed, but I don't care about that. In fantasy, they have always existed, though. They're just evil gods who exist to ruin stuff. It's how it works. Chaos came about when they broke through the portals on each of the planet's poles when the old ones overused them to ferry materials and magic to their burgeoning creations. Other than that, pretty much the same, if with a small bit more emphasis on their positive aspects. Only a small bit, though. Khorne still likes war, Nurgle still likes disease, Tzeentch still likes scheming, and Slaanesh still likes degeneracy. Same demon units, same greater demons. Hell, most of the name demons are the same. Where they really shine and differentiate between settings isn't their followers. Let's get GW's least favorite child out of the way first. The Beastmen are a cross between beasts and men. Being born of chaos itself, the Dark Gods don't need to bribe them with gifts to ensure their worship. Unfortunately for them, this means the Beastmen rarely, if ever, get any gifts from the gods. They know they'll always have their worship, so they get the scraps the proper Chaos Warriors get. Given that one theory of how they came about is man and beast getting a bit too friendly with each other, I don't feel too bad for them. Don't let that fool you, though. While the nations of men consider them to be a nuisance for all but the most isolated towns, and the dwarves view them similarly, the wood elves know the true danger they represent. In the forest of the world, millions of them lurk, and when they go to war, entire swaths of the country are trampled underneath their hooves. They defile nature with their every step, and won't stop their savage crusade until the civilized peoples of the world exist in a constant state of being hunted by their bestial overlords. At least that's what we're told in between lore blurbs of them being butchered like the cattle they look like. For the love of God, at least the Eldar are powerful on the tabletop more often than not. The Beastmen usually suck on tabletop and in the lore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a hype man for the factions here, but while I wasn't for Bretonnia because I hate them, I'm not for the Beastmen because I pity them. For what it's worth, though, they are incredibly dangerous to the average person in this setting. Villages at the frontier of almost every faction are regularly under assault by Beastmen raiders, and when they gather in force, they'll be wiped off the map at a moment's notice. And since they're all part animal, they have incredibly sharp senses. If you get in a fight with one while you're traveling, it's already game over. You can probably take that one on, but the 20 or so more beelining it in your direction because they heard a fight is a different story. The Beastmen are a savage race to the point that things like intact walls drive them to frothing rage, such as their hatred for civilization. All they do in their free time is get in into brutal fights amongst each other, sometimes involving one challenging another for a position in the hierarchy, but usually just to assert dominance or for fun, hunt people, and drink. They do have some forms of worship for the Chaos Gods, and their shamans both help construct effigies and are actually revered by other beastmen as something above their common squabbling, but for the most part, they're every stereotype barbarian squashed into one. Aside from those shamans, they have no desire to form their own culture, civilization, or cities. They just want to hunt like the beasts they are. The Beastmen may be a bit of an acquired taste, but for what it's worth, I don't think I've ever seen people address Beastmen players with anything but some measure of respect. While the Beasts of Chaos are no more, the OG Beastmen of Fantasy have returned to the tabletop. If you like the idea of being this savage force of nature that just wants to ruin, all the while being backed by the Dark Gods, the Beastmen might be for you. Just don't expect to win all that often. Part of the respect Beastmen players get is for sticking with an army that Games Workshop seems to hold in utter contempt. I know I'm incredibly biased, but I do not care for the motivations of most of the Traitor Legions. They strike me as like listening to a story about me and my siblings not getting along when we were kids. Which I'm sure is at least partly intentional, but that's not the kind of motivation I want for why someone sold their soul to the forces of hell. At least not on a faction-wide level. By contrast, let's look at the Warriors of Chaos motivations for worshipping chaos. I'd say there's two blanket ones you can say. The reasonable one is that they live in the barren, icy lands of Norska. Aside from the southernmost regions, permafrost covers the whole land. No crops can be grown, and few animals are around to hunt. Because of their proximity to the North Pole, where the realm of chaos intersects with reality, a lot of those animals are heavily mutated, if not outright demonic. A lot of these people are also almost explicitly forsaken by Sigmar, as a lot of the ones who live there now are the descendants of the ones Sigmar forced out when he was forming the Empire. With all that in mind, I think it's at least understandable that these people would turn to the Chaos Gods for protection and worship. If the only option of worship is the guy who's all about plague, you might as well hope he's in a good mood and will keep the plague at bay in exchange for a few sacrificed southerners. The other motivation, while less relatable, is also much more fun. Just wanting to be an evil, powerful overlord. Why do you worship the Dark Gods? Because they give you ultra-powerful cursed armor you can use to give them more sacrifices to gain more power with. Why do you slaughter in the name of the Blood God and all the others? Because it's fun. Who gives a damn about morality? That orphanage made the mistake of being in front of you, so it obviously had to go. If the Blood Dragons are a heavy metal album cover, the Warriors of Chaos are every heavy metal album cover combined into one. Kill for the Dark Gods at every possible moment. Let loose your darkest desires onto the world, because you have the explicit backing of the powers that be to do so. The Norskins who live in the frozen north will make pilgrimages to the northern pole and realm of chaos to become true warriors of darkness. If they're unlucky or unworthy, they'll turn into chaos spawn or demon food. If they're lucky or worthy enough, they'll become mighty chaos lords. And if they're really lucky and get just the right amount of attention from their gods, they can become demon princes of chaos, immortal beings with the blessings of the gods themselves to pillage across the world in their name. Look at this dude. He has 4 weapons visible alone, and his armor looks like he just grabbed every single bit of scrap metal around and had a demon turn it into something almost coherent to look at. If you...
Yeah, hold on. I gotta look at that fucking sword. Look at this blade.
That's crazy.
What in the fuck? Oh, okay. I see the blade now, and I see like the black light.
Is that an eye in the middle of his hilt?
I think so. Yeah, it's looking up at him.
Yeah.
I think. Oh my god, that's a
crazy.
lot of.
Oh yeah, there's another eye on his axe there.
Oh yeah, I see it.
That's crazy.
Darkness.
How are you supposed to hold that weapon? So many spikes and shit on it.
How you supposed to walk around? How you supposed to lift your arm?
How you supposed to live?
How you supposed to walk?
It's just that powerful. It's just that strong.
He is that strong, but like still, it's just...
His armor looks like he just grabbed every single bit of scrap metal around and had a demon turn it into something almost coherent to look at. If you want to play the bad guys who revel in being bad guys for the sake of it, the Warriors of Chaos have no equal. But believe it or not, these guys aren't the evilest faction. I love the Skaven. Take a rat, make it person-sized, walk on 2 legs, and fill it with hate. Now let them outnumber everyone else combined by a factor of 10, give them energy weapons and the foulest of magics, and a desire to see everyone else brought low before them. With that, you have the Skaven, and they are truly glorious. Unlike the Chaos Gods, their god of the Horned Rat has absolutely no positives. His own little territory in the realm of chaos is the realm of ruin. It sucks, and in there is a greater demon of his for every single Skaven. All of whom also suck. With numbers and power like they have, there's only one reason the Skaven haven't already taken over the world. The thing their god and race embodies more than anything else is the word asshole. They hate the other races for sure. They're petty and spiteful enough that even though they don't have any uses for gold, they mine it solely because it inconveniences everyone else. But they hate each other only a fraction of a fraction less than they hate everyone else. They're also all power-hungry morons who are convinced that if they were in charge, they could lead Skavendom to victory. And of course, themselves to a life of luxury and power. So one will have a plan to defeat a dwarf army, and then all his underlings immediately begin sabotaging each other to look good for the commander, sabotaging the commander to take his place,
hilarious.
and then sabotaging themselves because
Bunch
they're
of
just
rats.
stupid. They eat each other for food, the Skaven at the top bully the ones below them, and this lovely form of Reaganomics trickles all the way down to the common clan rat bullying Skaven slaves because the rat above him bullied him because the rat above him bullied him. Of course, none of this matters in terms of defeating them. For one, they're rat people. There's a reason the only human-inhabited place on Earth that doesn't have rats is Alberta. The Skaven literally breed like rats because they are. In the time it takes you to kill one, they've already given birth to another 1,000. In a chapter from the Skaven character's point of view, the commanding wizard of the Skaven army remarked it was impressive how they managed to pull off a victory despite only outnumbering the enemy 4-1. When a 4-1 ratio is what they consider to be a pretty even fight, you can rest easy, knowing there's a lot of rats under your feet. Or don't rest easy. I wouldn't. And of course their technology. It's the best in the world. They have nuclear weapons. They burrow under the ground and put them under people or places they don't like, which is everywhere and everyone. The only places the Skaven don't have some presence on is Ulthuan, the High Elf home, and Athelloren, the Wood Elf home.
Wow.
They can't get to Ulthuan because it's a floating island continent that doesn't touch the sea floor. There's no ground for them to dig up under through. They can't get to Athelloren, meanwhile, because the ground itself is alive and actively hates them for trespassing. They'll send thousands of their slaves and basic soldiers to death in order to slightly soften up the enemy defenses. As far as the Council of 13 that rules Skavendom is concerned, 1,000 slave rats in exchange for the enemy losing a couple rockets and cannonballs is a positive trade. This is before they start firing at you with magically powered Gatling guns, throwing poison gas at you, and lighting you on fire with magically powered flamethrowers. Every single one of those things has the potential to break and kill the operators because the magic rocks powering it are incredibly unstable, and it just doesn't matter to the Skaven. Other Skaven killed are other potential rivals killed, and everyone else they kill is one less obstacle to Skaven domination over the world. That magical substance they use to power their weapons is a rock called Warpstone, by the way, and the Skaven covet it above all else. They use it to power pretty much everything that isn't manually powered by treadmills of slave rats. Other uses for it include using it to boost their magical strength, boost their physical strength, as food, and as a cocaine equivalent. Everyone else that touches the stuff either mutates or dies on the spot, and for the Skaven it's nose candy. If they sound goofy, it's because they are, but consider what it's like on the other side of a Skaven invasion. You're walking down the street, things have been a bit rough with the goings-on in the town, but nothing that can't be explained by natural causes. Then all you hear is explosions, the sounds of the most horrifying mutated monstrosities ever conceived, and right as you turn the corner, all you see is dozens of beady red eyes staring at you with full intent to kill and eat you. And that's if you're lucky. On the other end of things, the Skaven are horrifying. There's a lot more about the Skaven I could say, but here's a quick and easy way to know if you like them. If you despise everything about everyone around you, know for a fact you should be in charge of everyone because you're clearly right, and altruism makes you want to curl up and die, you'll like the Skaven. Or alternatively, if you want to rock up to a fantasy setting with machine guns, magical artillery, and nuclear bombs, they're for you too. And I believe that is every major fantasy faction, and a lot of the minor ones. If you're new to fantasy, I hope this was a decently informative primer. If you aren't, I hope something in here was funny. Thank you as always to my wonderful channel members. You were the Warhammer Fantasy to my Warhammer, the backbone of everything that has come before and since. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
Wigglesworth.
There's a whole
I found
faction
one.
Oh.
Vampire pirates I didn't really talk about. For the overall lore, they're just not important, but one of them has the largest navy in the world. That's what Warhammer Fantasy considers forgettable. A pirate vampire with the largest navy in the world. Total War only for the most part, but hey, it's pretty cool to play in that.
Okay, he's gonna end it right there. Okay. Is that the end? Wait, it's more. Okay, it's not more. What's going on here? Oh, Trazen.
Fantasy is fun.
Yeah. Fantasy's very fun. See, I like.
It's everything but condensed, bro.
I don't know how to say this. Yeah, well, it's a lot more. It's way more because there's so many more races and so many different factions and so many more things.
But it's on one big ass Terra planet.
Yeah, one planet.
I like what you said, Derek. It's nice and condensed. on one planet.
I feel like for me, it's like it was just a simplified form of like the original 40K. Like I don't know if like it's a difference or it's like they all in the same situation, but like
they're different universes.
Yeah.
Someone actually explained. I was going through the Trazen video. Trazen. I don't remember how to say. I think it's Trazen. But I was going through like that part 1 of his timeline video that we just posted, and someone said that they're 2 separate universes, and then the warp is like the connection point. So it's almost like DC universe, like how there's Earth 1, Earth 2, 2 separate worlds.
Yeah.
But 2 separate
parallel
galaxies essentially. But the warp kind of like warps them because warp exists everywhere in space and time. You know what I mean? So essentially, it's not like unbelievable to say that they could travel through the warp and then end up in fantasy or something like that, or fantasy character, vice versa, whatever the case is. Not saying they're going to do that or anything, but that's I thought that was really interesting. You know what I mean? If you guys have any queries with that, then feel free to post. You know what I mean? Because I don't know 100% how that works, or where that how he found that out, or if that's more like hypothesis. Because I've heard so many different things about. I know that they're 2 different universes. I know that's been confirmed. For a while, they didn't know that, but I don't know how exactly they came to that conclusion. Like, oh, we know for a fact this is 2 different universes. I don't know if it was just a statement or something that was posted by GW or what, but yeah, I feel like it's a lot smaller. I feel like complexity-wise, it feels like it has so much more potential. I guess there's so many different like rat people, completely new. Like it has everything 40K has: chaos, chaos people and regular Marines. Instead of bugs, they had lizards, But then they have, I guess we haven't looked at dwarves yet, but then they have dwarves, they have chaos dwarves, they have ogres.
Beastmen.
Yeah, beastmen. So many different things that I can't even fucking, all kinds of different shit. And they're all like, I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I feel like we got a very basic overview of these different factions. So we haven't seen all the different things that they have. Like, we got into the Skaven, and then we heard that they have nuclear weapons, and we have no idea really what they do with those weapons or how they, we heard about one bomb,
Yeah.
They talked about the crystals and how it powers all their weapons, but we didn't really see too much. You just, overviewed everything. So I feel like with 40K, we've looked a lot deeper into. Maybe we haven't. I feel like this is more planets in 40K because it's the whole universe.
Yeah,
so you just have all these different planets, you know what I mean? But like on every planet, there's like men, you know what I mean? Like regular Imperium men that are running around fighting. And I feel like the Imperium feels a little pointless when you have the Astartes, you know what I mean? Like even me reading fucking Horus Rising, and I'm almost like halfway through. I think I'm on chapter like 9 or something like that, and they just got to this part where I'm gonna keep updating you on this book as I go through it. But they just got to this part where they were doing all the traditions and all the different stuff, kind of showing a Astartes elevating to a new position and all this good stuff. His name's like Loken, and they got to this part now where they went on this mission and they're supposed to be taking over this territory. And there's I don't know if it's a demon. I'm assuming it's like a demon. But he's going like Sam, like they can hear like some type of demon thing saying like, oh, Samus is everywhere, Samus will kill you, Samus blah blah blah. And it's like I'm reading, I'm like, oh, this is pretty scary. But they just now got to this part, and it feels like when it comes to like those moments of like, oh shit, this is new, I don't know what to expect here, this is crazy, it's catching me off guard. I feel like I don't typically feel that in 40K. I feel like we know about everything, and it's like nothing's really too shocking. With this, just going through all those different things, I felt like, wait, what the fuck, Skaven? I feel like more like I'm being introduced to a lot of new concepts, a lot of cool creative new concepts, like the Skaven army and the fact that they are all killing each other and they can't really progress, and all that stuff is hella. I feel like it took a lot of creativity and a lot of granted they took a lot of inspiration from other places and shit like that, but I feel like they introduced so many more factions that you can pick and choose between a lot more varieties. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know there's like Harley Quinn and other shit like that, but like realistically, I don't know if I really care about Harley Quinn or certain things like that. I'm like, maybe I haven't really seen them, but I think because it's so expansive, it's quantity over quality. It almost feels like, and quality of concept, not quality of story. I haven't read all the books and stuff like that. They're 600 plus fucking books, so who knows? But I think within that, I couldn't imagine anyone's going through and focusing heavily on more than 3-4 factions. You know what I mean? Like reading all the orc books, getting the orc armies, you know what I mean? You would lose too much money too fast. Like, so you can't even enjoy the whole setting, I feel like, so. Because it's so massive, so I don't know. It reminds me of, like, you know, DC will have 52 Earths in like the new 52.
Yeah.
And then Marvel, let's say like just, I'm not going to talk about the comic books, but just the cinematic universe. He's like, oh, well, how many different worlds are there? Oh, this is world fucking 10,780. I don't even want to think about all the different possibilities of worlds in Marvel because it's just like, that just seems like too much now. Now you can kind of mysteriously make up anything you want. And that's just like, I feel like a little bit of like a cop-out sometimes compared to having the 52 where it's like, okay, we only have so many and there's going to be more recurring and all that good stuff. So I think that's kind of better for stories sometimes.
Yeah, I be feeling like a skaven dad sometimes with like the original
Skaven.
40K. Yeah, you know how they be having like 1,000 kids at once and shit.
Why do you feel like that?
Because I'm like in original 40K, it's 1,000 ways you could probably go with this shit. It's a lot going on in original 40K, cuz.
Bro, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm gonna throw it out there. Maybe I missed something, but I'm lost. So I ain't gonna respond to that.
Having a lot of kids, a lot going on in the 40K. I'm gonna just leave it at that. But hey,
I feel it. You're like, you know what? Fuck that. Okay. You got anything else?
No.
Your brain's fucked up. I can see it on your face.
bro,
Yeah.
they have a lot of kids. They do a lot of fucking, bro.
Who are we talking about?
The skaven, the rats.
Okay.
Rats have like 1,000
Right, I get
But
that. But why you
feel
keep
like-
saying 40,000 though? Why are you referring 40,000 in
The
skaven?
original and like the fantasy world is just like the fantasy world is short and condensed, but like the original is hella shit. Hella
What
planets.
are the two things that you're comparing? I think that's the
That's
part.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying
I
to
was
see
just
what
talking
you're
about how like we was just talking about how it's like a lot going on in 40K and then it was condensed and then.
So you're saying like Skaven have a lot going on because they have a lot of kids.
Yeah, I like
and then
kids.
40K has a lot
Yeah,
going on.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible example, bro. I'm be honest. I love you, bro, but that's just a horrible example.
I thought you were trying to refer
Sorry,
to the
y'all.
emperor
That's just
Sorry.
because he has a lot of kids. I was like,
that dude.
I was like, okay, 40K skaven. Like what?
I was trying to.
Is he a rat? No.
I tried, y'all.
Hey, sometimes I see you guys in the comments. You guys will post that two of us are gaslighting the other. So maybe this is one of those situations. If so, let us know. You guys always do. Maybe you guys are gaslighting us when you do that. I don't know. Who knows at this point?
Who's gaslighting who?
Oh,
Go in the
who's
comments.
gaslighting?
Go in the comments.
Yeah, let us know who's gaslighting who because I don't even know anymore. I feel like I try to have pure intentions, and the next thing you know, I'm like, damn, was I doing that? And I have to look at my own life like, huh.
You be doing that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not trusting you. I know you gaslight, so.
No, I don't gaslight. What are you talking about?
See, that's a gaslight right there.
That's not.
All right, y'all. I think that's all we got for this. Amazing video. I really love the fantasy. We will definitely be jumping into more fantasy stuff. I've really been wanting to jump into the Total Warhammer trailers, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those games, I feel like I might end up picking up one of those games. I just got to get my Steam Deck back so I can play like handheld. And I always loved like the original StarCraft. I always loved just those types of games in general. Total war games outside of Warhammer. So yeah, I'm interested in what they have to do or what they're gonna do with that the game in the fantasy world. And then also, if there's any more fantasy like cinematic videos, I would love to see some cinematics. Like how we've been watching for 40K, that'd be really cool. So yeah, whether the game trailers, whether they're for the tabletop trailers or whatever, like we just did the Horus Heresy, whatever, just post in the comments, let us know. And yeah,
make sure we don't miss nothing. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I seen someone commented in the last video, and they're asking about like we write our own books and comics and all this good stuff, and they're asking where to find it. If you check out the description, you'll see our official website. That will take you to like our online store. We don't really have the books in there, the physical books, but our books are also available on Amazon. We have a connected universe called SNI Universe. You can check that out. Or go to sniuniverse.com and you'll see the landing page and all that good stuff. If you guys are interested in the stuff that we do, if you care, you might not care. I would understand, And that's all I got.
Hey man, it is what it is, man.
Hey, man.
Thank
To
you
each
guys.
his own.
To each their own, to each his own, to each our own. And until then, thank you guys for being here and watching this video. And we'll see you guys later.
All right, much love. Peace.